This week on Supercars Torque, Triple Eight's Ford engines fail at the first hurdle, while I look at the 2001 Championship if they had the finals system, and preview the upcoming racing at Albert Park this weekend. Big news this week is that Cam Hill has a beautiful new Dabble livery for the weekend. I really like it. I didn't mind the Dabble livery from last year, and I think they've gone to another level this year. Can do very well on the weekend, and then I can get a pretty model made up of it. But the actual big news this week is that finally Supercars Torque has a channel partner, and it's a really good fit for Supercars Torque, as they are model car supplier Motorfocus, based up there in Queensland. They're not close to me, but Dimitri and the team there are absolutely awesome to deal with. He'll be helping me out getting some more models to do some more unboxing, and he also runs the Diecast Model Expo that is coming up later this year down in Victoria. So down in the description, a few more details. The big things with Motorfocus: if you join their collectors club, it is free to join. Basically, you go on a mailing list, and 5% off all models on there. Really good, because anything you can save on this hobby is really handy. It does become quite expensive, and also $15 flat postage anywhere in Australia. That is really handy because postage is a big cost, and I know, having sent stuff myself with my day job, and some of I got an eBay store as well. If you look down in there, I've got some merchandise stuff there. Check that out. Postage costs are definitely a hard one, and $15 flat rate postage is a really good one with shipping the models. But definitely there will be a link down in the description. Go and check out their site, please. And there's some older models there, all the normal pre-ordering and everything like that. He doesn't ask for deposits on the pre-ordering as well. That's definitely a bonus. Check out their website, and hopefully we will be able to have some fun things coming up on the channel. Work together a bit on that. But anyway, then, away from the Supercars Torque big news, the actual big news this week within the category, of course, is that Triple Eight planned on using their current engine supplier, KRE, who builds the Chev engines for all of the Chev teams in Supercars, as part of the Gen 3 agreement. They've now signed exclusively with Chev moving forward, and the Ford engines will have to be built elsewhere. So Triple Eight made the announcement that they were going to get KRE to build the Ford engines before anyone else was on board with this, including KRE, and I think possibly even Ford. Did Jamie jump the gun a little bit early? Anyway, so moving forward, the Chev engines will be coming from KRE. The Ford engines, where will they be coming from? Well, there's three obvious options. Motorsport Powertrains, which is the DJR engine shop, continues to build them for all the Ford teams. Triple Eight starts their own engine shop and builds all the engines for the Ford teams, or they find another similar business like KRE to build the engines for them. Logic dictates that Motorsport Powertrains continue the deal as is. The engine's not a big problem. Obviously, there was the crankshaft issue coming up to Bathurst last year. They sorted all that out. It all seems to be good now. Cam Waters did blow up an engine on the ride day after SMP, but there's been a few other people blow up engines over time, so this is nothing new. I can't see Triple Eight going down the path of building their own engines in-house in their history, I think when Triple Eight very first bought Briggs, I think they were doing engines in-house, but then they quickly inked that deal with Stone Brothers to build their engines, and then they'd gone off to, I think they were using maybe Morris even when they did the switch over to Holden, and then the whole KRE deal that's continued on. But yeah, I can't see them doing their own thing, and if you're looking for another supplier to go and build it, well, why not use the existing Motorsport Powertrains that is already doing it? It doesn't seem, yeah. So I think we'll probably see status quo with Motorsport Powertrains continuing, but I know Triple Eight want to have control over it, and usually what they say goes, so they'll probably go in a different direction and screw over all the people there at Motorsport Powertrains. Anyway, before we get into the main topics of the week, the other bits of news to cover off. Velo has gone into receivership. They are the sponsor of the Adelaide, well, it's the Adelaide Finale now, not the Adelaide 500. So the Adelaide race is on a race to look for a new sponsor of the race. Drake's supermarket chain, I've heard bandied around a bit. I don't know anything about them. They're definitely not in Victoria. We just have Coles, Aldo, and Safeway, Woolworths. And then there's Costco, and yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, yeah, Drake's. It would, well, definitely, I mean, now I've heard of them, so good on them. Bit of a hard one to cover off. McPhillamy Park, the top of Bathurst. Some First Nations people trying to make it a sacred site because they threw some ashes there a few years ago. I don't quite understand the whole goings on of this, so I probably shouldn't get into it too much. But from what I kind of gathered, that one group's someone's reported that this group has come along and said, oh, they want to do this. And then the group's come out and said, no, we don't want to do that. And then they've said, even if we wanted to do that, we wouldn't want to interfere with the race at all. So bonus, yeah, now they've got it in writing that they are not going to interfere with the race. So even if they are stealthing in and, you know, fake news, yeah, we probably won't have the actual like Bathurst racetrack affected by it. It will just stop people from being able to build stuff up there without permission from them. Anyway, then getting on to the AGP, Supercars will be at the AGP again next year. It seems that there's been a deal for this year and next year. And last year, because we're being kicked out of the now F2 pit lane, because yeah, F2 need the pits, but then they don't do pit stops, so they use the F1 pits for the pit stops, so why have the garages on the pit lane? Anyway, that's all too confusing for me, but the Supercars then had what was the old F2 pits and had all their transporters on the outside of the track, with the track being here. And I actually did the walk with some guys last year from the pit lane back to the transporters, and my God, if you were running backwards and forwards to the truck to try and get some parts and yeah, no, it's just chaos. So they will actually, where the, what I understand is where their transporters were last year will actually be the pit area for the Supercars, so fans will actually have proper access to the pits and that as they used to when it was on the inside and they had their proper pit lane. So that, and I find that a really big thing with the Supercars, that even if you don't get to actually see any of the drivers or chat to them or anything, it's just really cool to be able to walk behind the pits, have a look at the guys working on the cars. Yeah, you feel a bit more involved in it. The way it was last year, it was very separated. It's not like you could just walk up to the trucks and transporters either and really look, because they were all shut up because no one was there. They were all working on the cars on the internal pit lane. Anyway, the layout for the weekend, once again, it all kicks off Thursday. Thursday is the main day for the Supercars. That is the day I will be there. So if you do see me, come up and say hi. Anyway, 11:05 a.m. practice 1, 3:25 p.m. we will see qualifying for the cars. 1:25 p.m. practice 2. There's 2 practices during the day. 3:25 qualifying 1 for 15 minutes, then qualifying 2 for 15 minutes at 3:50, basically straight after that. That will be for race 1 and race 2, not 2-part qualifying like normal. 5:50 p.m. on Thursday will be race 1 of 19 laps. Friday, if you're excited about going for Friday and Supercars, 2:50 p.m. race 2, 19 laps. That's all you'll get to see of them on the Friday. Saturday, 9:05 a.m. qualifying 3 for 10 minutes, 9:25 a.m. qualifying 4 for 10 minutes. Once again, the qualifying, that's the Saturday and Sunday qualifying sessions essentially. Then, 5:40 p.m. So from 9 a.m. through to basically 6 p.m, there's a gap. Race 3 will be 5:40 p.m. At least that one is 19 laps as well. And then Sunday morning at 10:25 a.m, race 4 of the weekend. That is short at only 14 laps. The form guide from last year saw 3 winners over the weekend. Feeney, Brown, Feeney and Percat took the wins. Will Brown finishing astonishingly second in the 3 races that he didn't win. So he was either first or second in every race over the weekend. Pretty impressive. Feeney, he won 2 races, obviously. He took a 3rd and 4th in the races that he didn't win. Matt Payne took 2 third places, and Chaz Mostert was the only other guy to see the podium over the 4 races. After the weekend at SMP, I am fully expecting for Tickford to come out and definitely set the pace. Well, Waters, I think it'll be very hard to beat him in qualifying with what he did at SMP. I think that form will continue into the Grand Prix. He was pretty quick in qualifying there last year and should have the pace in the races as well. Plus, with no pit stops, it does make it easier if you are out in front with pace. You don't have things like team strategy, like leaving you out too long or having long pit stops and things like that. Things that kind of foiled him at Sydney Motorsport Park. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Waters take even 3 of the 4 wins over the weekend. I also expect Randall to be a lot closer. Probably Randall's a bit more hit and miss in qualifying, so I think in 2 races, I expect Randall to be right up there with Cam Waters, and then, probably he'll have to race back from a bit of an odd qualifying because a lot of pressure on the guys with very short qualifying sessions. Like in the 15-minute sessions, you might get 2 runs in. I think in the 10-minute sessions, it probably will be 1 run each. I'm fully expecting, Triple Eight to be the next guys in the charge. Chaz Mostert will be up there. And I think that we will see MSR make a big bounce back after a very disappointing SMP. Obviously, Percat was quite competitive here last year. And I think this kind of track that will suit Cam Hill. I kind of also expect, probably not, going out and winning, but I think Stanaway and Evans will be 2 to really keep an eye on this weekend. I get a feeling Evans is, second time round on everything. He's going to be a lot more of a force this year. But I think this is the kind of track that's going to suit these 2 guys, and their relative, what we expect from them will probably be a lot higher this weekend. As I said, maybe not winning, but I think they'll be a little bit of a surprise packet over the weekend. I kind of expecting DJR to have a bit of a slump this weekend because it is a very short, sharp weekend. At Sydney, they had the advantage of the test day, and then it was a kind of normal weekend. I think they're going to struggle with the progression over this weekend, and I think they're going to have a bit of a slump with a lot of the new stuff in the team. But anyway, down in the comments, let me know your predictions for the weekend. But now on to the big talking point of the week. Well, the big talking point of the week around here. So one of my fans, Joseph Yardley, messaged me during the week and said, hey, I was listening to Apex Hunters United. There are some other people who talk about supercars during the week. I'd actually listened to it too, and they'd had a comment on there about the people who would have won the championship had the final system been in place. And I'd say when they went through the list, there was a few surprising names on there, and I vaguely remember seeing something late last year that someone had posted, and there was a couple of odd names on there. And he suggested that, maybe someone could sit down and go through it. And I thought, well, I've got nothing going on Friday night. I'll sit down and do this. Anyway, we kicked off with the 2001 season. I think that was where the comment on Apex Hunters United was from, and it was a pretty easy one to get a lot of information from. Some of those, I've actually kept detailed records over the last few years. It's quite sad. I've definitely updated my spreadsheet from this year, which is keeping a lot more records in it. But yeah, going back then, and I don't have the time to try and find videos and stuff of all the races, so this is very brief on a lot of it. It is information that I could find, but I think with some assumptions and going through everything, we get a fair idea. Now, the calendar was a little bit odd back in 2001. Very similar this year. It was 13 rounds, which works really well. We had the 2 Enduros, but between Queensland 500 and Bathurst 1000, there was a round at Winton. And then after Bathurst, there was only 2 rounds. So what I've done on this, which actually back then, I think we would have had Gold Coast in the middle there as well, but it wasn't a championship round at the time. Anyway, maybe I could have added that in. Anyway, what's done is done now. So what I've done is I've moved that Winton round from in between the Enduros to the first of the finals series. So, a little bit of fudging in there, but it gives the same, the same kind of outcome then of this year as we have the layout of the, the 8 rounds, 2 and then 3. So anyway, sprint season, all pretty straightforward. Scaife still wins the sprint season by a canter. The big mover in this though, Captain Craig Lowndes, he finished 11th in the normal championship, 5th actually in the sprint season. Now, even with the changes because of his Enduro campaign being so terrible, he then still drops out of the top 10. But yeah, surprising to see something like that. And maybe we'll have some movements like that where someone finishes really high up in the sprint championship but drops well back down, or someone, busts their way in with a really good Enduro campaign. But I did find that, the whole bad Enduro campaign could really make a big difference. So the Enduro season. Now, really, really interesting one here. Scaife won the Enduros, but it was only by 2 points. This is because of, obviously, different rules at the time where you could team your number 1 driver or your main drivers if you want to. So going into the Queensland 500, HRT had Scaife and Jason Bright as part of the team. Teamed them up. They finished 5th at the Queensland 500, but then obviously within the whole context, Winton happened. They had 2 guys kind of fighting for the championship. So come Bathurst, they actually split them. Now the key thing is Thomas Bazira and Tony Longhurst were the co-drivers for HRT that year. They actually finished 5th at Queensland 500, right behind the main guys. Then splitting them for Bathurst, so Scaife and Longhurst paired up, while Bright and Mazira paired up in the second car. They didn't have such a good race. Scaife and Longhurst went on to win the race. So with all that, Tony Longhurst only finished 2 points behind Scaife in the Enduro Cup. Had they paired up, they would have equally won the Enduro Cup, which, because Tony Longhurst had been racing a full-time season for Rod Nash, technically, if he'd won the Enduro Cup then, I think he would have been entitled to be entered for the, kind of that wild card spot for the finals system, because he had been part of the whole championship and then won the Enduro season. But unfortunately for him, because 2 points down, doesn't get to enter, and something like that can't happen the way the rules are these days. Because you have to have entered the rest of the championship. I think maybe someone like Brody last year probably could have got dispensation going in. I'm not actually sure if he did win. I don't think he did win the Enduro Cup though, because they didn't have very good. Anyway, that's something to look at if I go down the line and do all the other. Even if Longhurst had got into the finals system though, he would have dropped out at the first hurdle because of a bad Winton round. Anyway, the top 10 for the finals then were the top 10 in the championship at the time. Top 10, Scaife, Bright, Ingle, Johnson, Murphy, Kelly, Radicic, Tander, Ellery and Richards. Johnson was Stephen Johnson, Kelly was Todd Kelly, and Richards was Stephen Richards. So then we move on to Winton, where Murphy and Ingle took the wins over this weekend. Scaife with his bonus starting points because of winning the championship and winning the Enduro Cup and finishing second and third over the weekend. He kept his lead in the championship. Murphy and Ingle then automatic entry into the next round, but they had enough points there. So heading into the next round, the DJR duo of Johnson and Radicic were also in there. Tander made it in too. Todd Kelly, Steve Earlery and Steve Richards were the ones who got dropped for the next round. Now for Pukekohe, which was the penultimate round. I can't find anywhere on the information with the actual points for the second round of the championship. I think how it runs is you get the 150, 120, 96, I think it is, down for the first round at Winton. And then the last round is, trying to think what it is. I didn't actually put it in these notes. I've got it on the spreadsheet. Anyway, I think it's like 50, 30, 15 points in the last round. The Pukekohe one, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I've essentially handed out the first 7 points, the same as what were handed out at the Winton round. So that's just an assumption there. I don't think it'll make a big difference because of the way the systems work. Murphy, 2 wins at Pukekohe, the king of Pukekohe, that jumps him up to second in the championship because Scaife followed him home in both races. Then Ingle and Bright were the last 2 to make it through to the finals, while Steve Johnson, Garth Tander and Paul Radicic were dropped at the end of this round, which moves us on to Sandown. So I think the way the bonuses work from this, because the points get reset to 5,000 plus then you get your bonuses on top. Scaife leads the championship when they walk away from Pukekohe at the end of that. Then with the bonus, the point reset for Sandown, the final round, Murphy actually leads the championship going into the racing on the weekend. Yeah, I think this is how it works. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more during the year as Supercars explains it all to us properly, or maybe hands us the actual set of rules to have a look at. Murph had 3 wins with the 2 at Pukekohe, 1 at Winton, so he leads into the finals because Scaife only had bonus points from winning the championship and the Enduro campaign only. Anyway, so we've got 3 races over the weekend at Sandown, much like the 3 races that will be at Adelaide this year. Race 1, Scaife sets up his weekend, taking the win. Ingle is only 4th. Bright is 5th, and Murphy misses out on the points, down in 8th position. Not bad, but yep, this is what it is, missing out on the points, because I think only the top 3 get points in the last round. Race 2 sees Murphy bounce back, taking the win in, not actually taking the win in the championship fight, but it was second in the race. Teammate Todd Kelly took the win there. Yep, Todd Kelly was racing for Kmart Racing back then. Scaife was in 4th. Bright got the final points in 11th as Ingle was some laps down in 23rd. As I said, not sure what exactly happened there, but he was a few laps off the pace. Race 3, no title battlers in the on the podium. Lowndes Ambrose and Todd Kelly are the podium men. Jason Bright, leader of the finalists, in 4th. Ingle in 8th. Murphy and Scaife retired from the race, but even with that, Scaife still has enough points to win the championship. 10 points is the difference instead of the 611 billion lead that he had that year. Murphy second in the championship, Ingle third, and right fourth. So overall, even with all of that, it's still the same top 4 in the championship, just in a slightly different order, because I think Murphy was 4th and then vaulted up to 2nd. Yeah, just jumbled it around. The winner of the championship is still the same winner. I think things may have been, well, chances are with, you know, Scaife, Murphy, Ingle, Jason Bright's probably the only one in there that isn't, kind of a hothead if you really need to. And I'm sure if a championship was on the line, he would have been definitely taking it a lot more serious right at the end of the championship there. So had the final system been in place, and obviously we've moved Winton around a bit, things may have played out a little bit differently. But yeah, it is a bit of an interesting look how it does affect things. So yeah, if you have liked this summary, let me know down in the comments, and I'll try and go through some different years. Couple might be a bit hard because of, we might have to make a lot of assumptions in there because of information. Getting results isn't quite as easy with some years. And as I said, my own database only runs over the last couple of years. Some people have a lot better databases than me. Anyway, once again, a massive shout out to Motorfocus for jumping on board. Their links will be down in the description. Go and check them out if you do collect the model cars, and even if you don't, really good way to start off with that Collectors Club discount. But anyway, enjoy the racing over the weekend, and as I said, I will be there on Thursday. So yeah, if you do see me, I don't mind, come and say hi. I love chatting to fans. But anyway, until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.